गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरु साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री Gurave Namaha. We are in Panchadashi, chapter 11 and verse number 72. Here we are seeing the verse 68. Eki bhuta sushuptastha pragnana ghanatam gataha anandamaya ananda bhukcheto maya vrittibhi. So here the deep sleeper, having attained oneness with Anandmaya, becomes undifferentiated. Here he, with the thoughts born of ignorance along with Chidabhas, becomes the experiencer of the bliss. Who becomes the experiencer of the bliss? The reflected consciousness becomes the experiencer of the bliss, and it is so fine, it is so subtle that why we are using this word so fine and so subtle? Because the individuality has not vanished yet. It is still there. The doer is still there. The experiencer is still there, but it has become unmanifest. But he is still there, and that is why. And then the consequent verses, we saw the word Eki Bhut, Sushuptastha, Prajnana Ghana, and last word that we saw was Chetomaya. And where are we? So we are in verse number 72. And here it was told, this word cheto mukhatva, chetomaya vritti, means the thought, conscious thought. That is the word that is being told here. And we ajnana bimbita chit syat, ajnana bimbita chit syat, mukham ananda bhojane, मुखम आनंद भोजने भुक्तं ब्रह्म सुखं त्यक्त्वा भुक्तं ब्रह्म सुखं त्यक्त्वा बहिर्यात्यथ कर्मणा बहिर्यात्यथ कर्मणा. The consciousness, don't forget the topic, we are talking about the conscious thought that we are talking about. And where is the conscious thought available? Where is the conscious thought available? In the intellect, isn't it? That I thought has become unmanifest. In deep sleep, of course. The consciousness reflected in the thought of ignorance, Chidabhasa, is the means of experience of the bliss in deep sleep. The jiva, under the influence of his earlier deeds, karmas, giving up the experience of bliss, of Brahman, thereafter goes out into the waking state. So we are experiencing the anand of the bliss of the deep sleep. Then why do we come out of it? Because of some subconscious samskar that is there, some subconscious, another word for it is vasana. Whatever actions you have done in the past life, they are stored as memories, and those memories, that subconscious memories or conscious memories, but in deep sleep there is no conscious memory, all are subconscious. One of them triggers and uh, makes you come out of the deep sleep and to experience the waking state. And for the experience of the bliss of Brahmananda in the deep sleep, the means of enjoyment is the consciousness reflected in the ignorance or causal body. In the deep sleep, all the koshas are no longer separately differentiated. See, the language is such, you try to work it out, you can't work it out. Here it said, in deep, the means of enjoyment is the consciousness reflected in the ignorance of causal body. What is ignorance? That which is not. And what is this reflected consciousness? Where is it reflected? It is reflected in that which is not. But what is that which is not? It is also a thought, isn't it? Because when you wake up, you say, I don't know where I was. So that I don't know is the ignorant thought. Huh? In the deep sleep, all the koshas are no longer separately differentiated. That is why it is told, before I go ahead, that is why it is told, don't try to work out the world. Don't try to work out your mind. Don't try to work out the Maya. You cannot work it out. Because what is Maya, what is mind? Where opposites are present, contradictions are always there. Something that you thought just now that you know, very next moment it becomes unknown. So in this world, that means everything other than the divine, nothing stays constantly for a long period of time. It seems to be there for a long period, but actually it is not. Like a mountain seems to be there for a long period, but it's continuously changing. See? So that which has a name and form, the four koshas, the space, air, fire, water, earth, the various emotions, the various concepts, the various ideas, the whole world for that matter, you cannot work out what it is. Only to a certain, so the analysis that is taken, it will take you to a certain point. And it is being told again and again through various scriptures, including the Upanishads, that this whole world has come out of what? It is an expression of Maya. See? Being an individual, remember this thing very carefully, being an individual, maintaining your individuality, if you try to work out your mind, you will not be able to work it out. There are no solutions for the individual. And once the individual has vanished, no solutions are required. Recognize this. So don't bark on the wrong tree, you know. Is that the statement?
No, barking up.
Barking up at the wrong tree. And what is that tree? The tree of ignorance. The individual is trying to work out what reality is. What a big joke. So why are we studying this? This point will come now so this class you have to be very, very alert. This point will be covered, but in a different way. This is enough for the moment that individual can never work it out. Individual is using his intellect to understand. The scriptures are giving us a certain methodology by which our attention comes on the substratum and not on trying to work out the mind, trying to work out the creation. That is not our purpose. Our purpose is to recognize that we are of the nature of conscious bliss. That is our purpose. And how do we come to know this? Not through thoughts. Not through thoughts, through direct experience. Aparoksha anubhuti. Last time also I think this point I brought out. It has to be aparoksha anubhuti. It cannot be indirect experience. What happens if there is indirect experience? That the teacher will address it in the coming verses. But let's stay with the point. The student says, how then is it possible to enjoy the bliss without any instrument of knowledge? How is it possible to enjoy the bliss without any instrument of knowledge? What is your instrument of knowledge? The thoughts, isn't it? Or the intellect. And intellect is nothing but thoughts. So let's say thoughts. So if there are no thoughts in the deep sleep, how is it possible to experience?
You experience, but you don't know you have experienced.
That is what everyone is. But then, because we are trying to work it out, we think we are all intelligent. So we want to sort out all the anomalies in our thinking. So if there are no thoughts, how do you experience the bliss?
The fact that there is no thought itself is bliss.
Yes, they said that. But can there be an experience of bliss without experiencer? That's okay. Can there be experience of bliss without experiencer? Can there be experience of bliss without experiencer? I'm asking.
Both are same, Swami, isn't it?
Good. From the absolute point of view, Sat is Chit, Chit is Ananda. Sat is Chit and Chit is Ananda. But what is happening in deep sleep?
That you come
You are not having a direct experience,
Anand,
but the I is there, but without its thought aspect, or it is very, 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 very fine and subtle. In that mind in which there is no thought eruption, in that the bliss of the self is getting reflected. How do you experience the bliss? Only when, even when you are wanting something, some desire is there and your desire is satisfied, the thoughts about that particular object subside, immediately the joy comes. But where we don't see that joy as the joy of the self, we think that because I gained that object, therefore the bliss. So we attribute that bliss to the attainment of that object. But that is not the correct conclusion. Now we can't even enjoy the world. No, you can't. That's the price you have to pay if you come to the class. You can still enjoy, but not from the objects. If you come to know that you are the source of joy, then whether there is an object or no object, the bliss will continue. So here, so the teacher is answering this question of the student, that if there is no instrument of knowledge, which is intellect or thoughts, if they are not there, how can you enjoy the bliss? Who is the knower of that bliss? It is through the consciousness reflecting the bliss experienced by the ajnana vritti, which is in subtle form. Ajnanam is because I do not know my own essential nature. Don't try to work it out. Can't. Merely in deep sleep there is no one there. Isn't it? And he is so subtle that he doesn't know that he is there. Because none of you remembers that you are in deep sleep. When do you come to know that you are in deep sleep? After you wake up, isn't it? How do you know that you did not know where you were? Did you know that in the deep sleep? No. Only after you wake up you come to know. In the deep sleep, did you know that there was bliss? No. Only after you woke up, you were able to recognize it through thoughts. But in deep sleep, was there any knowledge taking place? Was there any knowledge taking place? No, there is no thought movement.
So does that mean that without experience that there is no experience?
Without experiencer, there is no
Experience.
experience.
Yeah.
True. But that is not the complete, in deep sleep state, there is no, the experiencer is very, 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 very subtle. It's gone unmanifest. Because he's not annihilated, some remnants of that experiencer are still there, but what is he experiencing? I don't know. That is the experience that he is having without the thoughts.
So that's why he can remember when he comes back.
So when he comes back,
I had a nice sleep.
I don't know, but it was fantastic.
Yeah, because that's
So not knowing anything is also experienced by the experiencer as bliss. Therefore the statement ignorance is bliss. See, so he has not come to the conclusion that the self, bliss is of the nature of self. He has come to the conclusion ignorance is bliss. Why? Because in that deep sleep state, he was not knowing anything. So there is a wool over, there is still, even though he is closest to the truth, but there is one problem, and that is the veil of ignorance. And what is that veil of ignorance? That is, he is ignorant to his own essential nature. Not ignorant about anything else of the world. Yes, he is ignorant of the world, no doubt about it. That's why he's gone to the sleep. But he is ignorant of his own essential nature. And what is the nature of the self? Also Sat, Chit and Anand, bliss. So he is ignorant of the bliss also. And that bliss is reflecting in that experience of ignorance.
What's the point though? I mean, if he's not...
Because the point, because the teacher told, what was the statement? See the 68th verse. The deep sleeper, having attained oneness with Anandmaya, becomes undifferentiated. That as, so there, that statement, Eki Bhuta Sushuptastha, the experience of deep sleep is very similar to the experience of the self. You are closest to there. See? And that's why we want to keep going there again and again, every day, to deep sleep. Every day we want to go. That is where we are getting rejuvenated, recharged.
So, assuming that experiencer and the experience are same, that means that
Experiencer and the experienced are same, true.
And
That is from absolute standpoint.
absolute point of view. So that,
Huh?
that point of time, the person would not remember anything.
There's no for
No
that
mind.
for
There's
that
no
to
mind.
take place.
There's no mind.
No mind means what?
There's no
That
past memory.
this fellow, this person, or this conscious principle
Yeah.
is not aware of something called mind.
Mind. And so that means that he would be all of bliss,
Of the nature of bliss.
nature of bliss, but he wouldn't remember that though.
There is no need to remember.
There's no need
That is
to-
his nature.
So it's,
Do you keep saying to yourself, I am a woman? You have to keep remembering yourself, you are a
yes,
woman.
Swamiji, I understand that.
So that's exactly the same way. If he is of the nature of bliss, why does he need to remember? If he is of the nature of bliss, like you are of the nature of a woman, do you keep remembering, I am a woman, I am a woman, I am a woman? Does he need to keep remembering that I am a bliss, I am bliss, I am bliss?
I know that I'm a woman, yes.
And once you know, that's it. You don't have to repeat it.
But I won't remember that I'm in bliss, wouldn't I?
no, no, you will remember, for you, once you come to know that you are of the nature of bliss, then only that will happen.
Happens, yes.
Till you have not recognized yourself to be of the nature of bliss,
Yes.
you want to become blissful.
That's right. Yes, yes.
Till then the journey is there.
Yes, but
And once the journey is reached or you recognize, then
Yes.
there is no remembrance required.
So the saints that like Ramana Maharshi and those, so they have attained this, assuming, but then they also saddened when something happens, and they also have tears.
They don't. This is where we make the mistake. We look at the person, we look at the form, and we make a judgment about them. We are experiencing their mind, that his mind he's sad. His mind is sad. Mind will go through whatever it has to go through. If someone throws a stone at him, Nityanandji Maharaj will take a stone and throw back at him. He used to do that. But is there a precipitation of guilt that I threw a stone towards the children? No. Nothing like that. So for them, this is what, you cannot work it out how Mahatmas function. Scriptures are incompetent to explain how Mahatma functions. And Mahatma also, for him it is difficult to explain. He can only tell you through words, and those words themselves are having a limited scope. That is the problem. But if you take example of Ramana Maharshi, for him, his mind, his intellect, his breathing, his body, everyone else in this creation, everything is of the nature of I only. So, if a mirror is kept in front of a sun, will it not reflect a sun? If a mirror is kept in front of a dog, will it not reflect a dog? If the mirror is kept in front of a dog who takes a pradakshina and does pee-pee on the mirror, will the mirror not reflect the same thing? If a mirror is kept in front of a crying person, will mirror not be reflecting the crying person?
It does, yeah.
A laughing person, it will reflect a laughing person. Their mind becomes like that. It becomes a clean mirror. It keeps reflecting whatever without retaining anything. Remember those three words: accepting everything, rejecting nothing, and retaining nothing. Who does this? Not the conscious principle within the body. It is the mind which retains nothing, accepts everything, rejects nothing, and retains nothing. And then they go through, because still the body is there, mind will be there. It cannot be like that. Otherwise, sit in Nirvikalpa Samadhi for 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. And there are people who do that also. There are people. See? So this is the best way that we can explain. But as an individual, to some extent you can explain, but you cannot explain the exact experience of a realized master. Better than or equal to that, even scriptures can also explain. But who is the best person to know how a realized master functions? A realized person. So get realized and come to know and find out. Because as long as we are, all this is so that we do not, you know why this whole topic is being taken? So that we do not take the bliss of ignorance to be a state of realization. The bliss of sleep, the bliss of ignorance to be a state of samadhi. Lot of people go into samadhi, come out and oh, fantastic, if you remember, bloody gone. Nothing. If after coming out of samadhi still differences are there, still the joy of being is not there, then it is not. All that topic is coming now. We are jumping ahead, but which is in subtle form. Ajnanam, ignorance, is because I do not know my essential nature, therefore I am in deep sleep. In deep sleep, Bhoktrutva Abhiman and Kartrutva Abhiman are still present. So the ego, the individual, the reflected I, the I with the thought I, Aham with the vritti aspect, which is expressing as the doer and the experiencer, all that has happened to this fellow is it has become unmanifest. But he has not become gone out of the system. The virus is still there. It's sleeping. It's sleeping in ignorance, waiting for its time to come, when it can start functioning again. Therefore, no means of doership or field of operation is required. The jiva gives up this enjoyment of the bliss of deep sleep because of the compulsion of the earlier karma. So who wakes you up? The earlier vasanas. So if you, before going to sleep, with intensity, with relaxed intensity, introduce a deep thought that I want to get up at this time, you will get up at that time. Because you have overridden all other subconscious thoughts and you have made this one, and that you have to experiment how to do it, and you can do it. See? So all, and now comes out into the waking state and again starts suffering and enjoying. You look at Mahatmas, realized masters, example you are taking as Arun Maharishi or Baba, or for them there is no suffering, there is no enjoyment in the outside world. They are continuously enjoying or remaining in the bliss that their own essential nature is. But what are you, we and all seeing when we meet them? We see the form. Our attention is not on the conscious principle. Our attention is on the form. When you watch TV, what do you look at? Do you look at the screen, or do you look at the forms that are appearing and disappearing on the screen? Where is your attention? What makes you cry? The screen makes you cry, or those imaginary forms appearing on the screen?
Make you cry.
The imaginary forms make you cry or laugh or jealous or angry. You identify with those forms appearing on that flat screen. You have completely forgotten about the screen, and you are going through an emotional roller coaster, and afterwards you say, oh, what a wonderful movie, all Navarasa were there. Isn't it? But Navarasa is not equal to truth. Here we are talking about...
But once we realize that the TV is the one, we can enjoy the movie still, can't we?
Exactly.
We can't forever be looking at the TV thing and then we'll miss the movie going on in the screen. That will be totally... Because we know the screen...
If this doubt is coming, you are missing the point. If this doubt is coming, the reason this doubt is this point you have made this point is because of your attraction to the form. And what is a Mahatma experiencing? If we can use that word experiencing, he is experiencing the bliss that everything, everyone, because everything is of the nature of bliss alone. For him, the mind is not a mind which needs to be curtailed, which needs to be controlled, which needs to be educated, which needs to be make a U-turn, the quality needs to change, the direction needs to change, the number of thoughts need to change, nothing like that. Why? What is his, how does he look at the mind? Not as separate to himself.
There's no limitation.
How do you see your hand? Do you see it as separate to you? But he just doesn't see his mind. He sees the entire as an expression of I alone. And it's a thought-free expression. It's a thought-free experience. This is the total, this is the Anvaya. It is inclusiveness of the entirety in the definition of I. Entirety. So first stage is you separate yourself from everything that you think is a problem. You see, divorce happens for that, change of house happens for that. So everything that is giving you a problem or that is an impediment in experiencing the continuous bliss, you try to drop it away. How do you drop it away? Not by taking that piece, oh, you don't give me bliss, out. Not that way. By focusing your attention on the Atmic principle, focusing your attention on the consciousness. The more you remain with the consciousness, as consciousness, not separate, we are talking about aparoksha anubhuti, as consciousness, slowly, over a period of time, some places they say over a period of time, some places they say instantaneously, the eureka, your vision changes. From the yogic point of view, from the sadhana, if you are a seeker and you are seeking the truth and you feel there is, the body is an impediment, the breath is an impediment, the mind is an impediment, the thoughts are impediment, then your abidance in the self will be gradual. Because you have created a sequence there. But if you have taken a position that because your attention was, I have to reach somewhere in that process. But where can a wave reach to realize water? It already is. But if you take from the point of view of Vedanta, you fall back into yourself, there is no delay. There is no step by step an unfoldment of yourself. It's spontaneous, it's instantaneous. It's instantaneous. And your vision changes from one moment to the next. And there are enough data of various Mahatmas in their biographies, in their books, which is there. So what are we studying? We are studying how not to fall into a trap. If we understand a trap as a trap, then it will lose its impact on us. And what is the trap here? The Ananda, the Brahmananda, which is bliss. Now, the bliss can be of the self and the bliss can be that of the ignorance. And many a times it is seen that a person, a seeker, a yogi, a meditator, he confuses between the two. And that vision is being corrected here. That vision is being corrected to the best of their ability by using the words which have their own limitations. The jiva is not able to continue long in the deep sleep state. See again, do you decide to come out of deep sleep on a daily basis? No. Some thought pops you out of your sleep. With no will of yours. It happens. So, if you were in the blissful state, if it was your nature, then there is no question of coming out or going in. You should be firmly established. But the fact that you are coming out of it already denotes that it is a temporary experience. And temporary experience cannot be the experience of the self. It cannot be an experience of the self. Because Although the four earlier koshas are absorbed, they are not destroyed. Therefore, some thought, some impetus from within of the past karmas prompts this I which has become unmanifest to come back out. Thus, Cheto Mukha indicates the state of Sakshi Bhav. Cheto means Chetana, consciousness. Mukha means, you must have seen many meditation animations or something. They make the person sitting there, and yesterday I went with some kids to see Inside Out. Huh? There also, it's Chetomikha, because that person is seeing, and there are four personalities: anger personality, disgusting personality, joy personality, and sadness personality. So these are the person inside, these four are trying to, they're not taking control or anything. Initially, she says, Joy says, everything is happening because of me. Others say, yeah, because of you. But after she says, no, everything is not happening because of me. And then sometimes sadness can also bring you out of, a deep slumber or deep, depression or sadness. You can get kicked out of that. And then they realize sometimes anger brings you out. And they are like survival mechanisms, and it was not about truth, but that at the worldly level, at the relative level, all, just like we say Navarasas, that topic thought came before. Similarly, all emotions that you have are helpful, and you don't decide which one is helpful. You remain like a mirror. So if you can look at your emotions without getting affected by the emotions, fantastic. If you can look at your thoughts without getting affected by thoughts, fantastic. So you are this one, the I. If you can look at the intellect, the mind, and the body as a separate from them, then fantastic. Now, separation doesn't mean that you have to come out somewhere and you watch the mind. No, just like you are watching the TV, the example. Do you become the TV? No, but there is one problem there. You identify with the forms that are appearing on the TV, and you cry, you laugh, you feel the intrigue if you are watching Agatha Christie. Huh? But at any given moment, suddenly you watch, I'm bawling my eyes out, this very emotional movie, what is this? And suddenly you come back to yourself. Isn't it? But why did the tears come or the joy come? Because of your identification with the forms on the screen called TV. Now take exactly the same situation. You are sitting outside, you are a separate entity, the screen is a separate instrument, and on that some imaginary forms are appearing which are not real, and you are getting identified with them and going through a roller coaster of experience. Exactly the same way. You, the consciousness, are watching the screen of your mind, and on that screen of the mind, the various forms are appearing as thoughts, and you get identified with those thoughts. You go through a roller coaster of emotions and are made to act or not act based upon the intensity of that desire or emotion or whatever. But essentially, and you know this because you know emotions came and went, you know thoughts came and went, you know understanding happened or did not happen. So you are separate, but what is happening? You are identified with that which is appearing and disappearing on the screen of your mind. If you can recognize this taking place in you, you are Chetomukha. You are Sakshi. You are a witness. We have not talked about this Sakshi merging back into its own nature. We are only talking about, he forget that. He thinks this one is still bliss, and that bliss is only in deep sleep possible. Here what is happening? What they are bringing to our attention is that there has never been a time in your life that you have become this. This is initial stage. This is when we are going through neti neti. We are going through, I am not this, I am not this, I am not this. When you abide in yourself, then everything will become the I alone. But to come to that all-inclusive, experienceless experience of I, first you need to go through this. First you need to determine who you are. What is your essential nature? Are you the body? Are you the mind? Are you the thoughts? So here they are showing that no, you are not these. You are not the waker. You are not the dreamer. You are not the deep sleeper also. That is all happening at the mind level. You are the observer of all these three. And that is your experience. They are trying to bring to your attention that this is your experience. Recognize it. Don't get caught up in it. So what is Chetomukha? Indicates the state of Sakshi Bhava when the Jiva is no more affected by the agitations experienced through the four earlier koshas and the attention is turned towards its own source, that is the conditioned consciousness. So I thought, you cannot make the I thought, because you are I and you know yourself as I, as a thought at this moment when you are nodding or experiencing yourself. So you cannot say I am going to think about the infinite. You cannot think of the infinite. You cannot think about that all that. What is that real me? Is that real you, the reality, other than this I thought? No. So you initially, I thought, must think about the I thought alone. Therefore, who am I? It cannot, then in that questioning of who am I, the I will unfold to realize that he alone is. I alone is, not he. I alone is. But that question is not for this. The question is to this. What is my nature? Is my nature is my nature that which comes and goes? Is my nature to think? Is my nature to feel? Is my nature to act? Is my nature to seek? Is my nature to merge? Is my nature to come and go? Is my nature to be a waker, dreamer, deep sleeper? What is my nature? But these questions should not be asked after reading a book. These questions will spontaneously erupt within you when you are separate from the instruments, the four instruments, the Annamaya Kosh, Pranamaya Kosh, Manomaya Kosh and Vijnanamaya Kosh, and you have not gone into deep sleep. That time this question automatically pops up. If I am not these four, then who am I? Only once it comes and you fall back into yourself. Because now this fellow, till he is asking the question, he is thinking, isn't it? So all these, they are serving him. Right now, he was serving them. As a witness, they are just emptying themselves out because there is no attention and value being given to the thoughts that are coming. But as a result of that purification, whatever you may, I'm just using the word purification, as the thoughts slow down, automatically in that slowed down intellect, this thought will pop up. Not by reading a book. You can't begin, you may try to begin, oh, it was told here, I'll also start thinking like that. But if your mind is not relaxed, that question will come, but your mind will take you somewhere else, into a gaga land. But when it genuinely erupts from within. Automatically this fellow, when he asks, by using the instrument of intellect, who am I? And drops the thought, doesn't hold on, no, I have to keep asking like a japa, who am I, who am I, who am I, who am I? Nothing is going to take place. Only once he asks, automatically at that very moment, this is just a symbolic expression, he falls back into his own self. He falls back into his own source. Is there a fall back? This is just language. Can a wave fall back into water? It is always water. But that imaginary entity called conditioned I, as if falls back into its own essential nature. See how beautiful it is. So that is Chetomukha. Chetomukha is, so when if you are in meditation, how do you know you have gone into meditation or not gone into sleep? This point will come in handy now. When you come out, if nothing in the world disturbs you, if someone abuses you, someone shouts at you, someone is angry with you, someone is demanding things out of you, and you remain undisturbed. In your undisturbed attitude, disposition, the world may get disturbed even more. But you must not get disturbed. So first day from this coming out into the world from meditation, witnessing is not equal to realization. So the impact of the mind has to reduce. That is why witnessing Sakshi Bhav is practiced. That is why awareness is practiced. Be aware. Be aware does not mean that, I know what is going on. Or remain undisturbed. That is what is required. So how do you know that you are in meditation or not in meditation? Your performance outside. If you are disturbed by a drop of a hat of everything, forget it. You went to sleep. Because if you abided in yourself, then the remnants of that will continue when you come out of meditation. After you eat your food, it has gone into the mouth, still the taste lingers on your tongue, isn't it? If you have smelt a flower and you move away from there, the fragrance still lingers in your nose. If you have listened to a beautiful music and you interacted with intensely and you move away, it keeps going on in your ear. Isn't it? Similarly, when we come out of the deep sleep, the experience of bliss in the deep sleep lingers for a few moments when you wake up, doesn't it? And after that, world takes over. Mommy, where's the breakfast? Suddenly bliss gone. Isn't it? Or whatever. Oh my God, today I have to get real now because I was enjoying the bliss after I got up and I delayed it by 5 minutes because I was enjoying the remnants of bliss, the carryover effect of that bliss, and now I realize if I don't catch the train in time, I will lose my job and the stress begins. Is that not what is happening to all of us all the time? So now recognize this, that you are separate to all this that is taking place. And this is what is awareness, that yes, the mind may get agitated, let it get agitated because he is responding to the situation that is around. But you get agitated by getting identified with the cinema that is going on the screen of the mind. That is foolishness. Living in that manner is called living in awareness. Living undisturbed. You think Mahatmas, they don't laugh with people? They don't get angry with people. They don't, they play different roles. Well, I'm using the word they play different roles. Those roles play out of their mind, isn't it? But are they affected by those roles? Not. They don't compromise with who they essentially are. Let the mind do what it is doing. Don't give value to it. Now we will forget the rest of it and we will say, oh, that means I got a license to do, my mind is doing it, I am not doing it. You got a free license now. I didn't do it. Go and tell that to the court. My mind did the murder. I didn't do it. I was witnessing. They'll say, I will put the witness in the witness box. Isn't it? They will not put the mind in the witness. They put the witness in the witness box. No, don't get into that. That topic, this type of justification comes, or this type of topic when you are conversing with other people comes because your attention is not on the conscious principle. The Sakshi will never make any statements. He merely observes. Mind makes the statements. And out of force of old habit, if these type of statements do come, remain unaffected by them. Don't give them any value or credence. Over a period of time they will die. That impact of theirs will die. Because somewhere we must have intensely interacted or on us that I could realize, hey, I'm the witness, and it went so deep. Now you keep blabbering that I'm the witness, I'm the witness. It happens. That's why it is very, very, you have to be very alert. Very, very alert. So, thus Cheto Mukha indicates the state of Sakshi Bhava when the Jiva is no more affected by the agitations experienced through the four earlier koshas and the attention is turned towards its own source, that is the conditioned consciousness, that is this one, trying to find its own source. So don't try to give up the world. Don't try to give up the mind. Don't try to control the emotions or give up the emotions. The more you try to give it up, the more they will pursue you. The more you try to give up wrong concepts, or any concept for that matter, good or wrong or right, who cares? Any concept, they will pursue you. But why? But why? No. The answer does not lie in concepts. The answer does not lie in emotions. The answer lies in the conscious principle. So shift your attention to the conscious principle. The whole mind will reorganize itself. It will. It will reorganize. How? Don't worry about it. Try. Just like when the boss comes into the office, the whole office reorganizes. Everyone is alert. Mind will also become alert. About what? About the boss. Who's the boss? The witness. Because he wants attention. When the Vijnanmaya Kosh is a Cheto Mukha or Bahirmukha, the Jiva is associated with all types of modifications that arise through the Annamaya Kosh, gross body, and Pranmaya Kosh and Manomaya Kosh. This is what I explained here. So the mind has become the Aham Vritti and the Idam Vritti. Okay? Aham Vritti and the Idam Vritti. What is ego? Aham Vritti identified with the Idam Vritti. What is witness? Aham Vritti not affected by the Idam Vrittis. Not affected by the indifferent to the Idam Vrittis. It has to be indifferent. But that indifference comes about. But it has to be replaced by its own a thirst for knowing itself. See, then it will, that indifference towards the idam vrittis will happen. Just like going to sleep, your thirst to go into deep sleep, to enjoy the bliss of deep sleep, automatically makes you indifferent to whatever is going on in the world. Isn't it? So much is going on in this world. It is a very tumultuous time throughout the world. But do you care when you are going to sleep? Who cares? I will think about it tomorrow morning. Brush it. You don't even give an extra thought to it because your attention is on the sleep. Similarly, when you are going through the waking world, let your attention be on be the witness. Don't become someone, be the witness. Don't become an employee, don't become an employer, don't become the boss, don't become a wife, don't become a husband, don't become a miserable one, don't become a joyful one. Let the mind go through all that, but you don't get affected by it. How do you know you are not affected by it? You come back to balance. You play the role, you allowing the mind to play the role, you know you are not the role, and the moment role finishes, there is no lingering, there is no residue left afterwards. Straight away you fall back into yourself. You were already there as the substratum. You were already the witness, but the symptoms I am telling you. So you go from here, you go home, you will still be thinking about what we talked about today. That means we are in the past. Because memory has clicked in. You interacted with this information intensely. But what are we talking about here? Is the topic about not getting attached or getting attached? No, the topic is remain the witness. What thinking is required to do the witness? No witness. Remain the witness, and in that witnessing disposition, let the thinking go on. Doesn't matter. Because if you become the thinker, then again the purpose is lost. The idea was to bring you to make you recognize you are the witness, and only but teacher cannot do that. You have to do it yourself. It has to happen within you, by you. The words or the teacher can only give you direction. That's all. So while at this moment when we are listening, are we listening to the words, or are we a witness to the words that are being heard, that are erupting in the mind as a result of the speech, which is being heard by the ears? So determine that. See?
Swamiji, when you try to witness, because I haven't gone to that stage yet, the teaching is you just watch.
Okay, first statement. Your statement is wrong.
Maybe.
Swamiji, about witness, but I have not reached there yet. Scriptures are trying to tell us we are all basically a witness.
Okay.
We just don't know that.
Yeah. So I haven't.
You think,
I haven't experienced
so
it
this
yet.
attachment of I with the idam, the that, it is not possible.
Yeah.
Because I is of the nature of consciousness, that is of the nature of matter. I is continuous and that comes and goes. So how can a marriage between finite and infinite happen? How can the marriage between infinite and the finite, I the infinite and idam the finite? Yes, I thought is finite. But do you keep thinking that I am? You, when there is no thinking, still you are, isn't it?
No, the question was, Swamiji, that when I'm playing the role of sister, if I'm just witnessing and playing the role of witness, sister, that means that I won't be able to play that role completely, wouldn't I?
You will be able to play perfectly.
If I'm witnessing.
Yes. Because you are identified with the role, you are not able to see the whole picture of the sister. You will get caught up in the ups and lows, and my sister is not giving me attention. Why did she speak to me like this? Is this the way to speak to an elder sister? Or this blah 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 goes on. But if you are a witness to your role, then automatically integrity comes about within the mind. Then every role will be played automatically, perfectly. This is the art of living. This is the art of living. Samatvam yoga uchyate. Remain equanimous, remain a witness to everything. Initially you will, for everything that you do in life, initially it is a bit hard and afterwards it becomes easy, isn't it? We were climbing Dandinongs before Kailash. It was hard going up, but after a few times we were going up and coming down, isn't it? Similarly, initially to bring about enough momentum, intensity, relaxed concentration on being the witness in spite of all the thoughts may be a little bit difficult because we have imagined that way. But remember, witness, the I having identified with idam is only an imagination. I identification with, like a iron ball which is kept in a fire, that iron ball and fire seem to be it's a fireball then afterwards, isn't it? But after some time you put it out of the fire, then what happens? It goes back to it being the iron ball, isn't it? So it's just a seeming marriage, but it's not the real marriage. So this interaction, so when we look, while studying with this particular point, Chetomukha, it is this I thought. If he's focused on the conscious principle, automatically dispassion towards the idam, no value giving towards the idam, no attention to the idam, indifference to the idam will automatically come about. I have given you the example, the deep sleep. When you go to sleep, your focus is on the sleep, everything becomes unimportant. A further quotation is cited from Kaivalya Upanishad in support of the above thought. Karma janmantare bhudyata, karma janmantare bhudyata, tadyogad buddhyate punaha, tadyogad buddhyate punaha, iti kaivalya shakhayam, iti kaivalya shakhayam, कर्मजो बोध ईरितः, कर्मजो बोध ईरितः. The jiva, in association with the deeds that had been done in the earlier lives, awakes again into the waking plane. In this way, Kaivalya Upanishad attributes the waking to be born out of the earlier deeds. So, very simple, that all the karmas that we have already talked about it, all the karmas that we have done are the impression caused there of those karmas, are the causes, Where are the subconscious impressions? Where are the vasanas? They are in the subconscious mind. What is the subconscious mind? The unmanifest mind. What is the causal state? The deep sleep state is the causal state. In deep sleep state, Everything is in the unmanifest form. All the karmas, the sanskaras, the vasanas, whatever you may call it, the memories, they are all in their unmanifest form. Waiting for the opportune moment, waiting for the right time to express. And this is what is happening to us on a daily basis. We wake up and we see the same world, the same husband, the same wife, the same children, the same house, the same tree, the same road, the same, everything is. Is it? Question is it? Or you want to believe that it is the same? You want to believe that it is the same. Even though you wake up to the same, you think you have woken up to the same world, but actually it is not the same world which you left behind before going to sleep. It's already changed. But the change is so slow that you are not able to catch it. You think it is still the same. The husband has changed, the wife has changed, the house has changed, air has changed, the sun has changed, the sunrise, sunset, never any sunrise or sunset is same like every day. It's every day is different. But you feel it's the same. We are hoodwinking ourselves. We are hoodwinking ourselves. But the impression from the previous night that this is what I am, my family, my house, my children, my relatives, I am a migrant, I am a citizen, or I am a, what do you call the other one?
457 visa.
No, 457, etc., etc., etc. All that data which is there, anyway, it's not important. All that which is data that is there in your head, with that data which you interacted very intensely, which you have accepted as your own definition, without knowing what your true definition is, with that you go to sleep, all that data, all those memories of that become unmanifest, and one of them wakes you up the next day. And you think you are the same. It's not so. What is it that can support the experience of Brahmananda in deep sleep? So here he says, because of the earlier karma or samskaras, we are unable to continue to be quiet in deep sleep and we come to the waking state. So why we are not able to continuously remain in deep sleep state? Because of these samskaras. Now the question will be, if I can remain in an empty mind continuously, it's equal to realization. That question is coming. Gradually the teacher is trying to help discriminate Vasanananda and Vishayananda from Brahmananda. So what is Vasanananda? The spillover bliss. What is the spillover bliss? When you wake up, the spillover bliss is there, lingering bliss is still there. Before you go to sleep, just few moments before sleep, that one. In anticipation of being sucked into sleep. So that experience just before going to sleep and that experience of bliss just after waking up is the experience of Vasanananda. That is the experience of Vasanananda. But that is not Brahmananda. Why? Because it is remembered. It is not your nature. There is a big difference between remembrance and being. If it was your nature, you will not forget it after 2 seconds or 5 seconds. It will continue. Even if you are throughout the day, it will continue because you have touched it, you have consciously recognized it to be your own essential nature. That you are of the, I'm using these words, you will not even say those words. See? Kinchit kalam prabuddhasya, kinchit kalam prabuddhasya, brahmanandasya vasana, brahmanandasya vasana, anugacchedyatas tushnim, anugacchedyatas tushnim, आस्ते निर्विषय सुखी आस्ते निर्विषय सुखी. The impression of the bliss of Brahman is carried over to the waking state by the awakened one for a short period because of no contact with any object. The happy one keeps quiet when awakened. And that is why when we wake up in the morning and the eyes have not closed, we want to continue remaining in the eyes closed mode. Look at all the children. They keep falling back into sleep very quickly. Or the eyes are closed, they don't want to get up. They are enjoying the bliss, the spillover. And that is called Tushnim Bhav. Tushnim Bhav. So after satsang, if we are enjoying for 1 or 2 days, oh, that was fantastic, that meditation was fantastic, that contemplation was, we are in Tushnim Bhav. It is remembered. It is not your direct experience. So we are experiencing the bliss of memory. We are not experiencing the bliss of the self. We are not experiencing the bliss of being. We are experiencing the bliss of memory. So here, the impressions. We are on verse 74. He who has just got out of deep sleep during those first few moments on waking up, the vasanas, the samskaras of the Brahmananda, the bliss of undifferentiated consciousness that he enjoyed in deep sleep still lingers. During those few short moments, one has no contact with the waking state world. This particular moment is called Vasanananda. Vasanananda can be defined as the lingering Brahmananda when one emerges out of the deep sleep. What is the nature of Vasanananda? In this state, Jiva is not associated himself yet with any object, and at that time he is just quietly lying down, not yet involved in the world, no doership, no enjoyership, just a state of being, basking in the warmth of the carryover bliss that he has just left behind and come out of it. So, why are we asked to sit in meditation the moment we wake up? Because mind is empty. This carryover bliss is still there. Mind is still empty. You have not become a doer, you have not become an enjoyer. And you maintain that silence on the get up, sit in the bed itself. Now what is happening? You are still enjoying that bliss. If left alone, within few moments you will get up and then the world will enter into the mind. But if you sit in meditation, now you are consciously aware of the bliss. This is the difference. And it continues. So anugachet yatas tushnim. This is called tushnim bhav, which lingers before or after sleep. But this tushnim bhav does not stay for long. This is explained in the next shloka. Karma bhi prerita paschat कर्मभिप्रेरितः पश्चात् नानादुःखानि भावयन् नानादुःखानि भावयन् शनैर्विस्मरति ब्रह्म शनैर्विस्मरति ब्रह्म आनन्दमेषोऽखिलो जनः आनन्दमेषो अखिलो जनः. Later on, all the jivas prompted by earlier deeds and projecting many miseries slowly forget the bliss of Brahman. What happens?
Identifies with the world.
World takes over.
Like you are watching TV and you're pressing the remote. Nothing is coming on the TV. Huh? our remote does this. You keep pressing, the TV doesn't start. So the potential within the remote to make the TV screen go alive with all the names, forms, activities, emotions, etc. is there. But it is not going in there. It's not taking place. Why? It is in Tushnim Bhav. But then someone else comes. Swamiji, you don't know.
Battery.
I'll press it. Suddenly the screen comes alive and there goes your Tushnim Bhav. This is exactly what is taking place.
Change the batteries on.
Say that? Say that?
Change the battery of your remote control.
Maybe. It's fun. These are examples come from there. So you are enjoying the movie, but sometimes some programs, but every now and then my thought goes to the screen. All these thoughts, it's there in the background. It's trying to see the whole thing. And not just TV, I am foolish, getting crying, looking at the movie. No, you must make it subjective. This is how I bloody cry because of the whole world which is appearing as only a appearance on the screen of my mind, on the screen of the consciousness. Waves are only appearances on the screen of water. The whole world of names and forms is only appearing on the screen of consciousness. When forms appear on the screen, it is called mind. And you start, and suddenly eyes are open, but you are in meditation. See? Contemplate in this way. Because contemplation is not specific to satsang. We have to make every experience, every contact, every interaction with whatever into an make it a means to go back to ourselves, isn't it? So this way the Tushnim Bhav stays only for a fleeting few seconds. After that initial Vasanananda, the pressures of past actions in the form of anxieties and worldly actions bear down on him. The world assumes importance once again and the taste of Brahmananda gets polluted. Where is the world? In the mind. Where was the bliss experienced?
When there is no mind.
In the mind which was free of all thoughts, isn't it? Mind free of thoughts was deep sleep state. So if there are thoughts, bliss cannot express. If there are no thoughts, bliss can express. See? But that is reflected bliss. We are not going into that one. We want to recognize the bliss as my own essential nature. Because if I look at, oh, the bliss reflected in an empty mind, oh, so that mind is the mirror. This is how our mind functions. This is the mirror. It has got no thoughts now, no dirt of thoughts, and the bliss is experiencing. Acha, oh, If I make my mind empty, then the bliss will experience from whose bliss? It's not whose bliss. You are of the nature of that bliss. In that example, you are essentially. But the moment you take yourself to be an individual, then so depends what position you are taking. Are you taking the position of individuality? Are you taking the position of the witness, or are you taking the position of reality, absolute? I is the same. Are you taking the position of wave? Are you taking the position of ocean? Are you taking the position of water? From water's point of view, no dialogue is required. It's an experienceless experience. He's immersed in his own bliss. He's all-knowing. As totality, as the ocean, he's supporting all the waves, yet every now and then, but he has never forgotten that his essential nature is that of water, as totality. As individual, you've forgotten everything. You've forgotten the water, you've forgotten the totality, you're only remembered that I have a beginning and an end. That's all you remember. That's why individuality. Beginning and an end. And it begins by, so the world programming begins the moment you are born. The moment you say, that little bit grown up, when you were born, you can't remember. Remember, you were born on that day. So in this way, where are we? Brahmanandam Shanaihi Vismarati. Brahmanandam Vismarati, he forgets. Who? The seeker, the person who has gone to sleep. He forgets what? Slowly. Shanaihi. Forgets slowly what? Brahmanandam. He forgets the bliss of Brahman. He forgets the bliss that he had experienced after waking up, after experiencing it for a few moments, then slowly, just like, no, but this, you can make excuse. The moment you wake up, sometimes you can remember the dream very distinctly for some period of time. 2 seconds, 5 seconds, maybe if it was very powerful one, maybe 10 seconds. But after that, suddenly you want to try to remember also, you can't remember anything. Isn't it? Some intelligent ones are there, they remember and they live in that dream, even in the waking state. But normal people, they forget. It's exactly the same way. Just like we remember the dream and we forget it, we remember the Brahmananda as a Vasanananda, as a spillover of that, and then and the moment world enters into the mind, I have to do this, I have to enjoy that, I have to, oh re bapre, if I don't pay the bill, I'll be fined. Gaya kaam se, Brahmananda gaya, tadang, gone. So in this way, by slow degrees, everyone forgets the joy Brahmananda that was experienced in deep sleep and is overwhelmed and sucked in by the world. In deep sleep, you are sucked into ignorance. In waking up, you are sucked into the world or sucked out into the world. So both ways you are getting sucked only, you are a sucker. Who is a sucker? Who doesn't make his own decisions. He is sucker for everything, isn't it? So take charge. Be the witness. Be the witness. Be aware. Don't be a sucker to the world. And in deep sleep and is overwhelmed and sucked in by the, fretting and fuming of the waking state. This little leftover taste of the Vasanananda is totally lost and remains only as a distant memory. And then when you get tired after a whole day of toil, your thinking, your mind is exhausted, body is exhausted, everything is exhausted. In that exhaust, the number of thoughts has become slow. Suddenly you remember, "Arey yaar, sleep." It can happen in the midday also. So you take a coffee that I should not go to sleep. Or power nap. See? And in this, now this thought is concluded. We'll just read this and then conclude the class. Prag urdhvamapi nidrayaha, prag urdhvamapi nidrayaha, pakshapato dine dine, pakshapato dine dine, brahmanande nrunam tena, brahmanande nrunam tena, pragyosmin vivadeta kaha, Agnyosmin vivadeta kaha. Attachment to the bliss of Brahman before and after sleep is seen every day among men. Which intelligent man will ever argue against this? So the point of explanation from 68th verse till here is not to prove ignorance. It's not to prove anything. It is like a mirror in front of you, all these verses, to show you this is your experience. Interact with that experience intelligently and see that you are not the deep sleeper, you are not the waker. These things happen. You are the witness of it. So if you are going into meditation and then the joy is, anand is lingering, understand you are in the tushnim bhav. You know, sometimes we come out of meditation and, yeah, don't disturb, man. Swamiji, hey, and you don't want to be disturbed. And then you start yawning. Why? You want to go back into that state of empty mind. But that is tushnim bhav. That is not meditation. That is tushnim. So recognize that this is what is happening to you. This is how the whole thing to be analyzed and looked at. And the fact that you are all nodding to what was being told means that it is your experience also. So if it is your experience, a simple statement, experiencer has to be other than experienced. So you are the witness of it. Whether you are being the witness or not, that's a different matter. But you are the witness whenever it is taking place. Even right now, you are the witness of the thoughts. But you don't, because you're not alert about it, you think you are thinking. Thinking happens, you don't think. That is only KG level, third chapter of Gita, that you think. That is enough. After that, it is just thrown out of. Thinking happens. And as long as you think that you think, then you apply the choice of what you want to think. Once you come to 12th chapter, then you realize you don't think. Thinking happens. Everything is of the Lord, is by the Lord's grace. And by the time you cross the 12th chapter and come to towards the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita, there you realize, hey, whether thinking happens or doesn't happen, who cares? I am. So that is the whole unfoldment there. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Just sit quietly for 30 seconds, 1 minute. शांति 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 हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरि ओम